I want to start with the NL East. The Mets at one point in the NL East looked untouchable. Now the Atlanta Braves have it down to one game. They are one game back of the New York Mets. Will they catch them?
It's been a pretty amazing run. When you think about how far they were, I think at one point, 11 games back. The Mets have a pretty good schedule remaining, meaning they have a favorable schedule. The Braves have this big, long road trip that they're on. I think a lot's going to be determined on how they do on this road trip. And it's a West Coast trip that never goes well for many East Coast teams because of the travel. But I tell you what, this is going to come right down to the wire. And I did not think that was possible about 2 months ago. The Braves and their pitching, and they, everything about staying healthy, right? The Mets stay healthy, they're going to win the division, you would think, from their pitching staff. But now it's anybody's game, and this road trip will tell a lot. I think for either team, getting in the playoffs in the beginning of the year would be the goal. But I think it's essential for the team that wins this division, secures the second best record, gets a bye, has a chance to go to the World Series. The team that doesn't win the division is really behind the eight ball because they got to play that best of three and then, of course, go through two more teams. So I think this is going to be October 1st, I believe. The Mets play the Braves in Atlanta, and that is going to be a pretty good series.
So if the Braves can get through this road trip and stay within reach, and it all comes down to that series, if they're tied heading into that series, Mets and the Braves, I like the Braves. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument they're playing the best baseball of anybody right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just when you think, I go back to that 4 out of 5 that the Mets won, and that was going to pretty much put the series on ice. I mean, the division on ice. And then the Braves, I think, won 10 in a row or 10 of the next 11. So every time it looks like they've kind of put themselves, behind that eight ball, they come up with a huge stretch and a big time road trip. They won 11 or 10 straight games on the road. So I think the Braves are in a great spot. The Mets, of course, have dominated the entire year, and they're still the team to beat for me. I know that schedule and the teams they're playing. I know you shouldn't get caught up on the schedule as much, but it's a lot of teams that are not having good years that they get to play the remaining schedule of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And since June 1st, you're right, the Atlanta Braves have been the best team in all of baseball. So, John, Shohei Ohtani recently invented a new pitch, a sinker that's 100 miles an hour. It's a turbo sinker, if you will. And he just invented it in the middle of the season. And it is the hardest pitch with the most movement for a strikeout that we have seen in the last 3 years. John, you're a Hall of Famer. You're one of the best to ever do it. How difficult is it to just make up a pitch in the middle of the season and it be as good as Shohei Ohtani's sinker?
Well, it's really difficult if all you do is pitch, right? I mean, he's doing both. He's doing the tremendous ability to hit and then to pitch. I think he's I think he's one of the best pitchers in the game, and I know that he's the best player in the game when you combine the both that he can do. He's so gifted on the mound. And look, it's a little easier when your team's out of it to try to invent different things to move forward in your career. But nonetheless, to do it on the spot and in the middle of what he's doing is off the charts. I'm a big fan of Ohtani. I make the claim that he is and can be the greatest pitcher in our game, but he's not just pitching. So that kind of puts him back a little bit, but not so much that you can't talk about him in the top 5 category of pitchers in our game, just on the fact that he pitches once every 6 days and hits the other 5. This guy's rewriting record books, and can't wait for him to just really see full circle what his career can be.
Yep. And so obviously you yourself, one of the greatest pitchers to ever do it. But you're also really good on the golf course. Now, you're coming to us now from a clubhouse at your golf course. You're known a great golfer, you've played professional golf at some points in your life. So my question for you, two-part question here. Of the big three, you, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, who's the best golfer of the three?
Well, I was always the best golfer between the three of us, and we had a lot of friendly competitions where I would take on those two guys best ball. Now, they would win a lot of those matches because best ball is pretty tough to beat. But when I did win, the bragging rights were even greater. So we had a blast. I talk about it all the time on how our careers were extended through golf. We had the personalities that mixed with each other. When we were on the road, it kept us fresh. You know, I set up the golf, the cars, the members that we would play with. And I do, you know, if you talk to each one of them, they would talk indirectly about how it impacted them on the fact that their careers were lengthened. Mine was lengthened because this game will eat you up. We got a chance to play 20 plus years, and golf was a great part of it on the road. Not so much at home with our families, but on the road, we played a lot of golf.
I've heard there's many of them, but what is your craziest Greg Maddux golf story that you can share with us?
Yeah, there are so many of them. You know, Greg is legendary for a lot of stories that maybe you can't really say out loud. But there's one that we are really glad that we're talking about. It happened in Montreal. We were playing golf. It was myself, Maddux, Steve Avery, and Kent Merker. And we were playing golf in Montreal. So I called for a cab. And, you know, I tried to explain to them, and they understood a little bit of the English, that we needed a big cab with 4 golf sets that were going to be sitting in a trunk and 4 people riding in the cab. Well, a Fiat showed up. And to my surprise, the Fiat fit 4 golf clubs and fit us 4. 3 of us were in the back. Greg was in the front right seat, obviously the passenger seat. And I'm in the back left. And so I told him as soon as we took off, now imagine the weight in that Fiat. And I was sitting over the left back tire. And I told him, I said, this tire is going to blow. I could feel the bubble on this tire. And they were like, shut up, Smoltz, you know, whatever. And they basically told me to be quiet. Well, we stopped at a gas station to get something to drink. And I told him again, I said, this back tire is bad. It's going to blow. Well, they once again told me to be quiet. So we're on the highway going about 55 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, pow, the tire blows. Luckily, there wasn't a car to the right or to the left of us. And this guy swerved this car back and forth amongst this highway. And Maddux was screaming, hang in there. He's holding the handle in the front seat. Hang in there, directing this guy off to the side of the road, of which now we get to the side of the road, and within 15 seconds, nonstop traffic, obviously, on the highway. So now we got this blown out tire. Maddux, myself, Avery, and Merker. And Merker drew the short straw. He was the rookie at the time, or the youngest. He had to fix the flat and change the tire. And the whole time, Maddux was screaming in the front seat. And I guess him telling the story said, you know, when you're in the front seat and this car's going back and forth, you're thinking the car's just going to roll. We laugh about it now, but we think about what obviously could have been if that thing had flipped or didn't work out. And they didn't want to hear from me about that tire that I said was going to blow.
So did you end up getting to the golf course, or did you just decide to call it a day from there?
Well, no, that was coming back from the golf course to Montreal, the Dome, to get to the stadium. So we had Merker did a great job fixing, putting the tire on. It was the only could drive 40 miles an hour tire. And we were telling the cabbie, make sure you don't go over 40 miles an hour with all the weight in the car.
That's incredible. Thanks for watching. If you love Flippin Bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.